Transmission of aggression through imitation of aggressive models. How did studying aggression through imitation start? Well, identification in terms of incidental learning that stated children imitated behavior that was carried out by an adult model in the same room, and it also spoke to the fact that the mere presence of an adult demonstrating a certain behavior affects the subject's reaction immediately. Watching what a child does when an adult is not present was also part of this study. Does gender have an influence? Same-sex models are more effective. Falls and Smith found that parents reward the imitations of same-sex behaviors and discourage opposite-sex behaviors. Question: if children are passive witnesses to an aggressive display by an adult, would they imitate this aggressive behavior when given the opportunity? Hypothesis: subjects who are exposed to aggressive models would in turn express aggressive tendencies resembling those models. Non-aggressive models will generate a generalized inhibiting effect on the subject's resulting behavior. Subject will model the behavior of a same-sex model more extensively than an opposite-sex model. Boys will be more likely than girls to imitate models of aggression. Methods: the subjects were 36 boys and 36 girls. Ages ranged between 37 to 69 months. There was one adult male role model and one adult female role model. There were 3 conditions: control group, group exposed to aggressive model, and group exposed to non-aggressive model. Each group had 24 subjects. The children were further divided into groups by their gender and by the role model's gender they were acquainted with. There were a total of 8 experimental groups. Experimental groups: 6 boys with a role model of the same sex, 6 boys with a role model of the opposite sex, 6 girls with a role model of the same sex, 6 girls with a role model of the opposite sex. Procedures: the design has 3 independent variables: the condition the children were exposed to, the gender of the role model, and the gender of the child. The children were tested to see how aggressive they were and paired up into groups with similar aggression levels. The children were brought individually by the experimenter to the room, and the model was invited by the experimenter to come and join the game. The corner of the room was constructed as a playroom, and the children were brought over. After the child was seated at a small table, the experimenter demonstrated how the child could design pictures with potato prints and stickers. After settling the child in the corner, the experimenter moved on to the model. In the non-aggressive condition, the model put together the Tinker Toys in a quiet, gentle manner while ignoring the Bobo doll. In the aggressive condition, however, the model began assembling the Tinker Toys, but after a minute had gone by, the model abused the Bobo doll aggressively. After 10 minutes, the experimenter entered the room and led the child to a new room. The child was told this was another game room. Second step: the child was subjected to mild aggression arousal to make sure they were under some level of provocation to aggression. The experimenter took the child to a room that had attractive toys. The experimenter told the child that these toys were for him or her to play with. Then the child was told, however, the toys were for other children and was led to the next room. Third step: the experimenter stayed in the next room with the child, or else many children wouldn't stay alone and would leave before the end of the experiment. The room contained aggressive and non-aggressive toys. The child stayed in the room for 20 minutes where his or her behavior was rated in terms predetermined response categories by judges who observed the experiment through one-sided mirrors. The session was divided into 5-second intervals with an electric timer, 240 response units for each. Response measures. 3 measures of imitation were obtained: imitation of physical aggression, imitative verbal aggression, imitative non-aggressive verbal responses. They also looked at 2 types of behaviors that were not complete imitations of the adult model. Results. The children who were split in their groups adopted the tendencies and characteristics related to aggression that was modeled. Children who observed non-aggressive models, especially the subdued male model, were less aggressive. Masculine-labeled behaviors such as physical aggression showed a tendency for male and female subjects to imitate the male model to a greater degree than a female model. Boys reacted negatively with regards to female expression of aggression, whereas male aggression was seen as more acceptable and macho. Subjects who were exposed to aggressive models were more inclined to adopt aggressive attitudes. Subjects in the non-aggressive models were less inclined to act aggressively. Subjects expressed their aggression in the novel way that clearly resembled the patterns exhibited by the models they were assigned. When looking at statistics of the measures, we'll find a high effect rate. Analysis of variance of the remaining aggression measures show that treatment conditions did not influence the extent to which subjects engaged in aggressive gunplay or punched the Bobo doll. The effect of the condition is highly significant. Discussion. The research implies that imitation is fostered or differentially influenced by sex, with boys showing more aggression when exposed to the male model than girls, the difference being one marked by a highly masculine type behavior. The research implies that violent or aggressive actions against same-sex couples is a generated response due to exposure to violent or aggressive behaviors exhibited by those they learn from or socialize with. The position of sex and gender play an important role in how this way of thinking is framed.